23-year-old woman named Korryn Gaines was killed by the Baltimore police. Her 5-year-old son was also shot. And what's interesting is, as usual, we have exaggerations from both sides, and the truth is somewhere in the middle, and the truth is always something that we never fully know. To truly assess the situation is similar to a psychiatrist assessing a patient. I mean, we really don't have enough information to speak on it, but there's a certain time constraint at play here that makes it so that we're inclined to speak on it. However, we have a lot more information than psychiatrists do. So, the Baltimore police have been in trouble in the past, as you all are well aware of. There was that young man in the back of the police car who was seriously harmed, to say the least. In this country, there's a long history of animosity, mutual animosity, between the police and the black communities. I'm a fair man. I consider the facts. I consider who's taken whose side and why. And of course, there's a lot of political groups that are by default taking one side or another. A lot of these establishment Republicans by default taking the police's side, especially if they're white. A lot of these typical liberals taking the black community's side. On this matter, not in matters of abortion or psychiatry, but on matters of police brutality and the misuse of force, excessive force, what have you. We know these things. What I'm afraid will escape the understanding of society at large is the fact that they deleted much of the content on her social media accounts, if not some of her social media accounts. Leading up to this, last month I pointed out that people need to download my 9 Witnesses to Psyop playlist. Whenever the government runs a Psyop on people these days, they try to play them out as crazy. During COINTELPRO, they had 7,000 informants in one informant program alone, and they had many programs and many law enforcement agencies and military intelligence groups working together. It was called the GIP, the Ghetto Informant Program. These informants not only gave information, they also set people up and helped influence them to do things in a way that was favorable to the government's agenda. They also testified in court, after being told what to say by the oppressive organizations that were after the representatives of the black community at the time. Most people don't know that COINTELPRO encompassed a lot more groups than people think. The scope wasn't greater than just the Black Panther Party. And the government didn't simply abandon psychological operations. That is why I'm going to start putting psychological operations patches that I own myself on the screen. These are not just pictures of patches. These are patches I own that I bought. And they say flat out, in most cases, which unit they belong to, the 13th Psyop unit, and so on. These are real patches. Psychological operations are real operations. They still go on today. And they have always collaborated with psychiatrists, psychologists, pharmacologists, chemists, the pharmaceutical sector, and it is on record as reported by a psychiatrist, Dr. Colin Ross, in the book The CIA Doctors on page 33, that the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry funded MKUltra. In fact, it was a Freemason, Francis Galton, that coined the term eugenics, and a Freemason, Harry Truman, that started the CIA. For those of you who have watched my videos, you've heard me say this many times, and I'm correct to say this many times. Because in these videos where I touch on trending topics in the media and social media, I get a lot of new viewers who have never heard my arguments before, and they have never been introduced to this information, which completely destroys the idea that a Masonic conspiracy is some sort of a frivolous idea, some sort of a inconceivable notion that is a misconception that is widely believed by a bunch of mentally ill people who spend all day making nonsensical videos about a great conspiracy that includes reptilians and aliens. But this actually puts things into perspective in a way that one cannot possibly deny. These people were Masons. They have pictures of them in Masonic regalia, and their initiations, when they received their Master Mason degree, is known. Where they received it is known, and it is widely acknowledged even by Masons themselves. So to understand what is going on, you first must understand all the political agendas associated with it. And it is the most logical thing to do to look at the most influential organizations and entities in society. There are over 2 million Masons in America. Over 1/3 of the Masons in the entire world live right here in America. Over half of our presidents have been Masons, and maybe about a third or so, or I think it's about 22, I think, it's almost exactly half, are acknowledged Masons. This is important. Those Teddy Roosevelt, George Washington, Truman, and just to name a few. Okay, this is key here. Abraham Lincoln himself did not want people to think it was because he was a Mason that he was elected president. So he didn't join at that point, but he intended to after his presidency had come to a closure. All this is extremely important when you consider the shooting. One must not only feel moral outrage that this woman and her son were shot. One must also consider the greater agendas at play here. I have 9 witnesses, actually 10 witnesses other than myself, which makes it 11 total. And on a playlist, I have 10 of us testifying to, or making statements that prove definitively that I am being targeted. I even have a video of, several videos actually, of them hijacking my phone, making sure that I know that they're harassing me. And it's occurred many more times than I caught it on video. It has occurred almost every single day for the past year or so. I have videos that prove that they've slowed down my martial arts demonstrations on YouTube to feed into the idea that I'm some crazy guy who has made this nonsensical martial artist challenge, when really it's $3,000. I'm in the most populated state in the country, and it is the most common form of martial arts competition that reflects transferable, translatable, communicable, universal, and convertible skills of martial arts, such as dexterity, agility, speed, technique, timing, and understanding of distance and the nuances of strategy and tactics. in martial arts. You have to understand that this video is not just about Korryn Gaines. It is about why this happens, who is responsible, and to truly grasp this, you have to understand social planning, social engineering, social developing, social controlling, social designing. Things are done by design. There are very few things that are a coincidence in the sense that the system is designed a certain way, and this is part of the output or the effect, and in some cases the adverse effects. But when you look at it from the perspective of the eugenicist, it is actually a favorable effect to pit the least respected members of society against each other. Everyone hates cops, and people are taught to distrust, stigmatize, and hate blacks, whether they admit it or not. Even liberals aren't big fans of their daughters marrying a black person, especially if he is an outspoken black person. All those liberal women tend to be white feminists, and they tend to be bisexual or lesbians. They believe in free love. They don't believe in marriage. So whether it is a white racist conservative woman, or one who wants to conserve or preserve her race, or it is a white lesbian liberal feminist, the trend is, in the majority of females, to not think favorably of black people. Racism even exists in places that you think it does not. And black men have it the worst. Because there's people who are traditionalists or racists, who don't believe in mixing the races. And then there are women that hate men. So when you're a black man, you're pretty much hated by both major parties, for the most part. But if you're a black woman, you can be a lesbian and you feel right at home on the left. If you're a straight black man, you perhaps have it worse than a gay black man, because the gay groups are some of the most powerful groups. They live in wealthy, affluent areas. They go to prestigious colleges, liberal colleges, Berkeley, San Francisco, Stanford, and so on. So as a straight black man, you're not exactly welcome in the Republican Party, and you don't exactly feel comfortable in the Democratic Party. So if you add Christian to that label, where is your place? And unless you have become a racist, you're probably more Christian than the majority of white Christians in America. So I'm going to cut this short and just leave you with those thoughts. Think about the deeper implications of them deleting her account. And within days before that, they had threatened me covertly with the deleting of my accounts. They have harassed me. They have vandalized my car. I've proven that they have fumed my car. Again, see the videos. Before you get skeptical that this is going on, I have a police officer 45 minutes away in Santa Cruz admitting that these psyops are real on the news. They fumed me in my room. They fumed me in my car. They follow me around and stare at me, and that's the part of what's called gangstalking that the Santa Cruz police lieutenant admitted. They hijack my phone, they slow down my videos, they cyber attack me, they drug my food and my drink, and I have that as one of the witnesses is a witness. I didn't experiment with a placebo. She identified which drink was not drugged and which ones were. We did the experiment again. She drank a root beer, again, that was sealed. After having been drinking sodas all her life, especially leading up to that experiment, she again described the exact same symptoms I was feeling. And so both experiments, the first one with the placebo, confirmed that they were drugging my drinks. And I have 2 other people that confirm that my car is fumed. And out of every room in my 2-story house, only my room is fumed. So, did that atheist guy really tell you to provoke me to go to the psych ward?
Yes.
Doesn't that seem out of the ordinary?
Kinda.
Keep in mind this combo is newer than the other one, which I believe is from a year ago. This one's from last month or something like that, right? Yes, from last month.
Watch next to it.
Look at that. I mean, that's nothing like you shit, man. What's wrong with you two, man? You're making it cute, man. Look at that. That's what...
Alright, so that's that one. Now here's the one from the editor. I mean, from the enhancement. Well, you should call it the editor. It's not the official editor.
Look at that. I mean, that's nothing like you shit, man. What's wrong with you two, man? You're making it cute, man. Look at that. That's what...
So it does seem to be a little bit faster.
On our website, kcba.com. New tonight, police call it bullying on steroids. We're talking about gang stalking, but it actually has nothing to do with the gangs that you first think of. Central Coast News reporter Candace Wynn learned more about the trend and how it's getting more dangerous because of the internet.
It makes me feel afraid.
Lawrence Gazzino claims his neighbors are gang stalking him because he plays loud music late at night and is outspoken. He said for the last year and a half, he's been systematically followed by a group of people. At one point, he said they climbed on his roof to harass him. Gazzino said he's developed a paranoia that's devastated his relationships with friends and, worst of all, family.
That's the worst part of it. If it was me, I would take action.
Santa Cruz Police Lieutenant Larry Richards said police are becoming more aware of gang stalking because of cyberbullying. But what is gang stalking?
Basically, the victims could be driving their car or talking on their phones or walking the streets when a group of people try to systematically terrorize them.
Richards said gang stalking is nothing new, but new technology is making it more common.
Gang stalking itself, they have elevated themselves to technology. So this is something that's been going on before the age of Facebook, Twitter, those other social websites. They just now have gone into those areas.
Gazzino said he's proof that the problem isn't just online and that it can hit too close to home, a home he plans on leaving because of gang stalking.
I want to be able to go to the tennis courts and play tennis or play ping pong without people following us everywhere. It's just nerve-wracking.
I'm Candace Wen in Salinas, your Central Coast News.
If found guilty of gang stalking, a person may face criminal, conspiracy, and stalking charges, all of which are felony charges in California.